In this tutorial, we're going to explore how to integrate VoiceThread and VoiceThread assignments using some of the updates that have occurred in VoiceThread and Blackboard original environments. If you have previous experience working with VoiceThread, the setup has changed just a little bit in terms of creating new voice threads. All of your previous existing voice threads will continue to work. Right now we're focusing on how to create new voice threads moving forward. You'll notice that I have a weekly content area. This is a week 2 and it's blank. We're going to work from here. In the past, we've had you work with either build content or assessments to set up VoiceThread. But with some of the updates in VoiceThread and Blackboard, now we're asking you to set this up a new way, particularly for assignments. So to add this, we're actually going to now, from this day moving forward, use tools. In the tools area, you'll navigate down to where you see VoiceThread. We want to make sure that we're selecting only VoiceThread, not the VoiceThread Limited, just VoiceThread. I'll select on VoiceThread and we will name this VoiceThread. I'll call it assignment number 1, just as an example. In the description area, we'll ask students to complete the assignment. So we might say, create a voice thread to share with your peers. Again, be more specific than I am. All I'm doing right now is just setting up an area of text for this. Then I'm going to navigate down, and this is critical if this is something that I want to add to the grade book. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go under the grading, enable evaluation, and I'm going to select yes. This only needs to be done if I'm creating a VoiceThread assignment that is going to have points associated with it. I'll go ahead and I'll make this assignment worth 10 points. And you can still work through things like due dates if you'd like. Once I've done all this, I'm going to come down to the lower right hand corner and select submit. And now you'll notice that in my week 2 content area, now I have a VoiceThread link here essentially. So what I want to do now that I've set up the general idea for this is I'm going to, as the instructor here, select VoiceThread assignment 1, and I'm going to be redirected through the LTI to VoiceThread. And I'm going to treat this as if I am creating an assignment builder. So I will navigate over and select assignment builder here to create the assignment for the students. You'll notice here that our first choice asks us what type of activity we would like to have our students interact with. So they can either create a voice thread where they are doing some type of a presentation, which might include video, images, audio, documentation. We can have them respond to someone else's voice thread. So they would basically just be commenting. And then there's this third option, which just requires students to watch and listen to the entire voice thread from start to finish. Most of the time when students are working with VoiceThread, instructors are going to choose one of these first two. Either have students create a voice thread of their own presentation or content, or comment on existing comments and content. In this example, we'll go ahead and we'll choose create. And when I select this, you'll notice that now we're going to be slowly moved from the choose activity into next we'll come to choose options. We're working our way through the setup. So I will select continue here, and continue is basically working as confirm. When I do this, it's going to ask number of comments required. Now this is up to you how you set this. It can be a minimum of 1, or you can put an exact number of comments. I would suggest if you're requiring students to respond to 2 other peers, you would say exact. And if you just want them to respond to 2 or more peers, we would change this to from a minimum of 1 to 2, keeping in mind that they can continue if they want to respond to more than one with this. Below this, we have the types of comments that are allowed. So do you just want audio comments? This would primarily be done via a computer microphone. There's the option for webcam, which is a very popular one. Telephone, I don't know how much students are actually using this. I would suspect that most people are using microphone and webcam, but this could be an option. There's also a way to upload, say you were to do a QuickTime video or something like that. You could upload that, or you could bring text into this. We'll leave those all on. Those are the default. That just gives students the options. But remember, you could remove some of these if you wanted. So if it was me, I would probably just leave microphone and webcam on, and maybe text. Then below this, in this next section, we can allow students to add slides to any voice threads for this assignment. We can enable threaded comments, enable comment moderation, and so on. And you can kind of go through this. As you look through this, the default is to only have enable threaded comments on. That's the basic default. Same thing for playback. You'll see here that students, at least in the default configuration, actually have to select the play button for this to take and go. That's probably a good option because it gives students a minute to just get ready and make sure they're prepared to interact with the content. The permissions is to allow students to make copies, but not necessarily download these. You could change these. One area that you may want to look at, and I do like this, is the student gallery. And this one isn't turned on by default, but if you want students to comment and see each other's submissions, if you will, you would turn this on, and then students would be able to view each other's VoiceThread submissions. Sometimes this is going to be appropriate, sometimes this isn't, and that's why it's not turned on by default, but this is an important one, and I want you to be aware of it. I'll go ahead now to confirm these choices. We'll select continue, and this will take us over to step 3, which is finalize. So let's do that. And now we get the assignment name that we want to confirm again. The instructions that are going to go with this, and if you needed to modify these instructions, you could do so here. And then message to show the students after they submit. So you could change this if you wanted, but the default one is probably more than adequate in most situations. You could do start and end dates. I'm personally not a huge fan of those, specifically if you're going to reuse or extend dates or get off track, but that's your discretion. I would encourage you personally to allow students to resubmit the assignments. I like having this box turned on in case there are problems down the road, and allow students to view the assignment after submitting so they can be sure what they submitted and look at it. And notice that those two boxes are also defaulted. Then in terms of the assessment, the default is percentage. You could turn this to pass-fail. I would suggest leaving this as percentage. I'll go ahead and I'll select publish. And what we'll see is a little success. Now at this point, it's highly likely that you're going to need to either refresh the page or go back to the week. It's not going to redirect you. Now what we want to do, just so we understand how this works, as a student and for testing purposes, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to switch into student preview mode up here in the upper right-hand corner. And we want to test this VoiceThread. So I'm going to go to my week 2 content where I built this, and I'm going to select on this VoiceThread assignment number 1. And remember, we're viewing this as a student would view this, so we want to just make sure everything looks correct before we go any further. So it says step 1 here is going to be to add media and then open and comment for 2. So we want to look at this. It says create a voice thread to share with your peers. Those were the instructions that we created. Our first step will be to upload media and then record at least 2 different comments. That's what we're being asked to do. If you look below this for the assignment information, remember I did not set the due date. The percentage is going to be the grading schema. And I have not, as a student, yet submitted anything. So I can go ahead and select Start Assignment. And when I do this, I'll have a lot of different options here in terms of the types of media that I can interact with. So you'll notice that I can drag and drop files to this window, or I could select one of the different methods for working through with this. So I could record a video slide, add something from a cloud source, add something from my computer. I could take a picture. I could record the audio. In this simple example, I'll go ahead and I'll just say record an audio slide just for simplicity. And now I will just push start recording. And as I'm talking, you'll see that there's a counter going here on the side. And when I'm done with this, I will just push the stop button and I have a 10-second audio clip here.
I will just push start recording.
Now, you don't see any video or anything because I only did an audio example for this. But these would all essentially work the same. So I would select save if I was the student. And VoiceThread then would take a moment to prepare the slide. In this case, you'll see that it's just an audio slide that they could interact with. You'll also notice here that there is an option to download this. There's an option to edit this, and there's an option to delete and edit this slide. Once we're good, we're going to go ahead and we're going to select continue. And remember, the second step that we would have had here would be record at least 2 comments. So we could now select this lower bar and use any of these methods to comment, just like we would with VoiceThread. So I might say comment 1, just make it text. And then somewhere further along here, I'll make a comment 2 just in text, just so you can see this process. Okay, and these aren't particularly specific, and I messed up the time on the comment. You can see I overlapped these. So what I would probably want to do is delete one of these comments, and I might come in here and select play, and right here put a new comment back in, and we'll save that. And now you can see that each one of these dots represents the timestamp where I put the comment if I was a student. Since I've made 2 comments, now I'm ready to move up to the actual submission portion. So I will select submit. And notice I do have the option to withdraw this submission here. And what's very helpful with this is if we go down to the assignment information area, you can see that I have the date and time that this is submitted, and I can also see that this hasn't been graded. Okay, so I hope this gives you at least some idea of some of the updated features inside of VoiceThread, particularly how to set them up in Original. But you'll also notice if you've been a VoiceThread user for a substantial amount of time that this particular tool has definitely upgraded some, okay? As always, if you have additional questions about the setup or how to make VoiceThread work for you, please contact us in the Faculty Center for the Advancement of Teaching and Learning.